Hi, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Joe Chaffee Weather Show, starring Joe Chaffee. Hi, everybody. It's coming up on 6 o'clock Eastern Time on the 22nd of May, 2019. We are moving right along toward the long holiday weekend, and of course, that's front and center on everybody's mind. And we also have another a busy night of severe weather, and it looks like we're going to have a busy severe weather day come Thursday with this cold front that is now moving across the Ohio Valley. We have severe weather breaking out tonight. We're going to start with that and then move along. Let me, at the top, remind everybody that if you're watching this on a replay, it is 6 o'clock Eastern Time right now that we're doing this live stream. So be sure to check the latest regarding severe weather by going to your local National Weather Service office forecast page, and you can access that by going to weather.gov. The radars and satellites and everything else that you're going to see here tonight, obviously it's all going to be dated if you're watching this at 11 o'clock tonight or overnight or even first thing tomorrow morning. So let's get right to it. We are watching severe weather in progress in parts of the plains and extending on up in through the state of Missouri. And this comes right about the anniversary back in 2011, the eight-year anniversary of the Joplin, Missouri tornado. And the destructive nature of that particular tornado. I just actually watched a storm chase video of that when it was just forming, and it literally went from nothing to this monster in less than a minute of time in watching it develop. It was incredibly impressive to see something of that magnitude. And that, by the way, came on a day where the risk area, now they did it a little differently then, but the risk area was slight risk. So you need to take even the slight risks seriously with regards to the development of thunderstorms and the potential for severe weather. So let's get things going here with the map right now from SPC. We've got 3 working tornado watches at the moment. This also started out as slight risk, and then they added the enhanced risk, and now they also added the moderate risk from northeastern Oklahoma into through southwestern Missouri. And you can see the tornado watch boxes that are up at the moment, extending from a small portion of Texas there, crossing Oklahoma right through the middle of the state, going northeastward, and then you have the tornado watch boxes that run up further north from there. So a busy night indeed. And here it is on the mesoscale analysis from SPC. So you've got 1, 2, 3 tornado watch boxes. You're just now, there hasn't been really very much going on the radar at the moment, at earlier today, or even just a couple of hours ago. This stuff is all blossoming out rather quickly. We've got some working severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings that are going on, and you can kind of make them out in those. I guess they're not quite rectangles, but they draw these polygons here and just sort of outline the counties that these warnings are up. But over in the state of Oklahoma, it looks very busy. We also have what looks like a tornado warning up in northeastern Missouri in that last watch box that you see up there on the upper corner, in the upper right-hand corner of the map. And looking at the surface observations, of course, this is all, we've been talking about this really juiced up tropical air, and indeed, it is juiced up with dew points up into the 70s through Arkansas and in through all of Oklahoma. You've got dew points all in the low 70s, and even into parts of southern Missouri, you're in the upper 60s to around 70. And the juicy air goes northeastward right up into the state of Illinois, where that tornado watch does extend into. Now, I'm going to run through the current watches that are up as of 6:04. So this is tornado watch number 211, which is valid until 10 o'clock Central Time tonight. Then we have tornado watch 212. That is valid until 11 o'clock Central Time, and this runs from northeastern Oklahoma in through southwestern Missouri. And Tornado Watch 213, which goes into northeastern Missouri and in through west central Illinois. Sort of this elongated northeast-southwest column of tornado watches that are running through from the southern plains again on up through the middle Mississippi Valley. I'm going to run through the risk areas over the next couple of days now, and then we'll come back to the day 2 risk when we start looking at the weather going forward, because that's going to be in play for tomorrow. So this is Thursday's risk of severe weather. SPC has done a little bit of adjusting with the area in the east. They've pushed the northern part of that enhanced area. Earlier today was up near the New York State border and was touching western New Jersey. They've kind of shrunk it down a little bit, slightly, and then they pushed it further south. They seem to be getting a little more bullish, and some of the models this afternoon were indicating that the southern part of this line of storms for tomorrow might actually be stronger than the northern part. But nonetheless, the slight risk goes all the way up through upstate New York, just about west of the Hudson River, really, and west of the Northway, and also, or along and west of the Northway. The marginal risk has been pulled back slightly westward now to the Nassau-Suffolk line on Long Island and just barely into the western part of the state of Connecticut. I think they're looking at the possibility of a south wind tomorrow, which would bring the marine air, a little bit of marine air in there, keep the temperatures cool or relatively cooler, and that when these storms approach that, as they like to do, they tend to fall apart. But not all the models for tomorrow are in agreement with that. Now, jumping ahead to Friday, by the way, we also have another busy day tomorrow, northwest Texas into western Oklahoma into southern Kansas for the enhanced risk, and a larger area of slight risk. And of course, you see that marginal risk covers a lot of geography from Texas to the southern plains, and then east across the Mississippi Valley, the lower Ohio Valley, and down into southern Virginia. On Friday, we're looking at severe slight risk, just kind of representing where we have those tornado watches up now, for the most part, from Kansas, a small portion of northeastern Oklahoma, and then on up through eastern Kansas, the northern third of Missouri, southeastern Iowa, and northwestern Illinois up to about Chicago. And I also want to point out that now it's in the day 4 time frame. You saw it there pop up. It'll come back in a moment. But this is for Saturday. SPC indicating a 15%, 2 areas of 15% risk for Ohio and Pennsylvania, almost to about New Jersey. And we might see that wind up getting expanded a bit. We'll see. And then another 15% area in Kansas and Missouri. So busy indeed with severe weather. We thought at some point we'd catch a break or at least a slowdown. So let's go to where we got the action now. Again, not to, just in the development stages. So we're going to be seeing these thunderstorms on the radar increase over the next couple of hours. 6:08 Eastern Time is what you're looking at, 6:08 Eastern Time on Wednesday the 22nd. And we do see some very strong cells that have developed in parts of central Oklahoma, also in southeastern Kansas, and on up into northeastern Illinois. Meanwhile, as we go further east, now this is, I'm going to pay a little attention to this tonight, only because this is in a marginal risk zone for tonight. But this is what is happening with respect to those warmer, the warmer air and the higher dew points are pushing northward through Kentucky and into Ohio. So these showers, which really were not very much to them just a couple of hours ago, we're also starting to see some thunderstorms firing up in those bands. And this really exemplifies that forcing of the tropical moisture trying to punch its way northeastward and eventually moving its way across Pennsylvania and New York State tomorrow. A bit of a warm front is setting up ahead of that, and you're seeing some showers of rain moving through parts of upstate New York. The southern end of that extends down almost into northeastern Pennsylvania. We've got a little bit of some high cloudiness beginning to stream in over my neck of the woods, which is basically eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. I think there's a chance that we could see an isolated shower or thunderstorm tomorrow morning as that warm boundary pushes eastward. So here's what it looks like. Wait, one thing. Let me just widen out. Just want to not forget. We still have some precip going on in parts of Colorado, some rain and snow showers, and also up through Wyoming. And with the upper trough, the southern part of that upper trough, remember we were talking yesterday about the dumbbelling upper lows, the northern plain storm running up into the Dakotas, the southern part of the trough dropping back southwestward into California, Southern California, and you can see the rotation of that upper low producing some heavy showers. It looks like a few thunderstorms just outside of LA right now in an air line that is moving to the southeast. So still a lot of action going on out in the west, and it's that energy that's going to feed into the severe weather threats for the plains again over the next couple of days. You really want that upper trough in the west to go away big time and at least bring a respite to what seems to be endless severe weather. It's been going on now 11 or 12 days. In some places it's been almost every day with, the odd day here and there where not much happens. But a wholesale break lasting more than a few days is certainly deserved. We also have, and you can see the rotation up in Minnesota. That is the northern part of that trough, that dumbbelling again. One upper low up in the northern plains, the other upper low down in California, and that one in the northern plains is now going to separate from the one in the southwest, and it's going to go on its merry way across the lakes and then straddle upstate New York, southeastern Canada to trigger off the severe weather for tomorrow. The U.S. satellite loop tonight showing that northeast southwest trough from the plains to the southwest. And then if you take a look at the high clouds that are streaming northward from northern Texas and across Oklahoma, so it's right in that band, and that northern edge of that is running into west central Illinois. It's a very narrow band of thunderstorms that we're seeing, but we are driving the intensity here as the clouds in the Gulf, you still see them moving up from south to north from in the Gulf of Mexico and moving into Texas and Louisiana. So that's all that there's still a feed of tropical moisture coming out of the Gulf of Mexico and moving up into the plain states. And of course, over the top, you can also see the firing up of the brighter cloud tops that are back through Ohio and southern Indiana into Kentucky. Those are firing up now with those storms as they move on to the east. Here's what it looks like on tonight's surface map. Might have the latest one in here. No, I guess not. It's probably another 20 or 30 minutes we'll have that surface map, so we'll just wait for this to reload, which it is doing. And there's your, snaking warm front that is running from South Carolina and then on up through the Appalachians and then just noses its way into southern Ohio. So there's that push. And then you've got the warm front back to just about Chicago into what's left of the surface low from the plain storm, now a 995-ish low that is in northeastern South Dakota. Still getting some pretty cool air behind it with temperatures only in the 40s through the Dakotas, and 50s and 60s have pushed on the other side of the frontal boundary in Kansas, and then of course jump to the other side And here we have it. This is at 2 o'clock in the, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Temperatures in the middle 80s, dew points in the upper 60s and low 70s, and that flow coming out of the Gulf of Mexico right up through Louisiana, East Texas, and into Oklahoma, Arkansas, and through Missouri and into Illinois. So all in here, that warm sector is working. And of course, the bottom part of that trough, you've got lower pressures down from Colorado down into Arizona. A couple of 3 lows being analyzed there, all in the neighborhood of about 1,000 millibars, and that's driving the weather situation down in the southwest. So that pretty much covers what the surface map looks like. The troughiness in the west, the ridge that is in the east, and of course here in the northeast, a beauty of a day today. Sunshine just about all day long. Temperatures topping out in the low to mid 70s. The wind was a lot less busy than it was yesterday, so that was good. This was probably one of the nicest days we've had all spring, in my opinion. High to the south, no real onshore flow. The winds were all mostly offshore. Very little in the way of any kind of sea breeze that I saw develop, at least through 5 o'clock this afternoon. The last I saw the temperatures, there wasn't much of a sea breeze going on anywhere. Winds were just predominantly light and very variable. Always helps to have at least a westerly isobar nearby this time of year to keep the south wind from coming in. All right, so let's jump to tomorrow and let's take a look at what's going on. You know, I've been focusing on the dew point maps here, and the dew points in the northeast right now are in the 30s. And low 40s. I mean, this is really super dry air. And in the meantime, watch the dew points in Kentucky and through Ohio. They're climbing into the 60s. And I'm using the HRRR model. This is as of, this was the 18Z run, because this takes out to 33 hours. The dew points by this evening, all now in the 60s. So from earlier, we saw the dew points at about 11 this morning in Ohio in the 50s and even the upper 40s. And here we are now. Those dew points have risen 10 degrees or more as we see those dew points shooting up into the low and even the middle 60s. And that continues as we head into tonight. We see some dew points even make the upper 60s. Now, while that's happening, of course, you've got the dry air still holding on across Pennsylvania and upstate New York. And I'll take you to tomorrow morning. That dry air gets whittled away very, very quickly. And it is still pretty dry across New Jersey, Long Island, and Connecticut. The 60 dew points are actually going over the top. Look at the wind barbs. This is why the risk area might have been pushed a little bit further to the west. If you look at these wind barbs, they start to come out pretty much southerly here. So that is going to impact temperatures along the New Jersey shore, for Long Island, and for southern New England. And by late tomorrow afternoon, by this time tomorrow evening, when we will be seeing some thunderstorms, you've got 60 dew points to the Hudson Valley to about New York City, but still dew points in the 50s. That's not to say that you can't get thunderstorms with dew points in the 50s. I'm looking more at the fact that the low-level boundary winds and the surface winds coming from the south off the ocean at 20 knots or more will probably keep temperatures from New York City, from coastal New Jersey and New York City eastward in the 60s. Also, I think the big question for tomorrow is how much sun. Now, those 60 dew points get all the way up into upstate New York, up to about Albany and a little bit further. So that juicy air does make it far enough that you have to consider a risk of severe thunderstorms all the way up the Hudson Valley. And at the same time, of course, when you look across Pennsylvania, you've got dew points in the mid 60s to near 70, and the same holds. You've got very tropical air here, high dew points up in parts of Virginia and into Maryland and Delaware. I think there's a good argument that SPC makes about the southern part of this line that's going to be developing for tomorrow, producing severe weather. And I kind of like the way the HRRR model splits the line in half at one point later tomorrow afternoon. So backing it up. So first off, the warm front, here's the threat maybe for a shower or even a thunderstorm tomorrow morning around 6 or 7 or 8 a.m. And of course, then that weakens and goes away. We'll break out into some sun, and your isobars, you'll notice again, they're more south-southwest, which I think favors that idea of a southerly wind at the coast. Now, here's how the HRRR handles it. It develops a line of strong thunderstorms later tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon that it takes across upstate New York. Then it begins to fire, and remember, the more humid air actually gets up there first before it gets down, it gets in to areas from New Jersey to southern New England. The northern part of that line kind of holds together fairly well as it moves through around 3 or 4 p.m., and then you get the southern part of that line that fires up, and you see where that gap is right in the middle across a couple of counties of northern New Jersey, and then to about New York City. That's where the the eastern edge of the second part of that line that runs down through New Jersey and into northeastern Maryland and through Delaware, and also some strong cells that form up there in northeastern Virginia that get fairly strong later tomorrow evening as they move down through the Delmarva Peninsula and through Washington, D.C., and then head out over Chesapeake Bay and move away. So all of this, that plain storm and what's left of it, moves from the lakes, and it starts to strengthen because a northern shortwave gets involved here. So you have the low actually deepening down to about a 97 low. Also seeing some strong cells being produced up in parts of Vermont and New Hampshire going into Maine late tomorrow into tomorrow evening and into the first part of tomorrow night, which I think would make sense with respect to the depth of that low. And now, of course, the winds have all shifted and weather conditions improve. The NAM3 late this afternoon, which I haven't looked at, the earlier NAM3 I did, I'm just kind of curious as to how it's handling this. And the NAM3, of course, here's your warm front, which it doesn't do with much of anything at all. It really is very underwhelming with respect to what it develops here. I'm not 100% sure why the NAM3 is not nearly as dynamic as some of the other short-term models. The WRF, which is a model I don't look at very often, but I happened to look at it today from earlier. The new run, seems to be a little less bullish. It was kind of going overtime with the thunderstorm development earlier, had a pretty solid line developing and moving through. Now it's gotten a bit more scattered in nature. I think sometimes in these thunderstorm situations, I shouldn't say sometimes, oftentimes each mesoscale model sees the atmosphere in a totally different light. And the same, using the data, and it just kind of comes up with different ideas. I don't know how to resolve it, other than to say that I think we just have to respect the area of risk that's being indicated, and anticipate that the thunderstorms may actually wind up outperforming, given recent history with regards to some of the thunderstorm activity that we've seen in the east over the last month or so. I just want to. I'm looking at some of these models for the first time late this afternoon. So here's the RGEM, and the RGEM seems to have the idea of the HRRR. You got that northern part moving through, and then you have. This is not showing a radar reflection, by the way. It's showing precip. So there's that northern part of that line. It's also a bit slower, and it seems to have them a bit more connected. And then the southern part of the line winds up firing up. So look, SPC is bullish on all of this on their recent discussions. I don't see any reason really why to disagree with their assessment. And the threat time tomorrow, for my area at least, sometime figure between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. Inside that time frame, we're going to wind up with some thunderstorms. And one of the other things to look for, how much sun do we get tomorrow? If we break out into some sun, and push the temperatures up a bit higher, that could make a difference in some places with regards to what winds up coming out of all of this. Now, on to the weather for beyond Thursday, because as we go into this holiday weekend, I continue to fall on the idea that it's going to be dry through the dayside periods. And while we do have two additional fronts to deal with, one Saturday night and another one Sunday night, the shower and thunderstorm activity, I believe, will be confined to those time frames. So the dayside should be okay. And if everything moves along according to plan, after the Sunday night front moves through, Monday Memorial Day may wind up being a decent day from start to finish. So here's your low and front. The plains low weakens and then strengthens again because, again, another northern shortwave gets involved and moves through New England. Now you've got more energy. If you watch in the west, that rain and snow that we showed you on the radar, you got another low that runs up into the Dakotas. So this triggers off a severe weather event here for later Thursday and Thursday night in the risk area that SPC indicates. And now here comes your front for Saturday. The dayside Saturday to me looks good. We'll have temperatures in the 70s to near 80. And here comes your cold front for Saturday night. The GFS is not always good with giving you a fair picture of how these fronts wind up playing. I think there's a chance that the SPC zone for Saturday gets expanded, if only because of the fact that, unlike this time around, I think you're going to have more of a southwest wind rather than a south wind. So that might play into this in terms of seeing thunderstorm activity, at least in coastal areas. But the day is good. I think we're okay. This is at 8 o'clock in the evening. There will be some showers and storms in western New York and western PA at this point, down to West Virginia and into parts of Ohio and Indiana. But east of there, I think you're fine. And it's overnight into Sunday morning, and by Sunday morning they're gone. Could there be some scattered showers and thunderstorms Sunday afternoon in parts of Pennsylvania and points west? Yes, because the old frontal boundary, there's going to be still something left of that. But you've noticed that there's that high that's sitting up near Lake Winnipeg on Sunday. That is some drier air, so there's another front that is ahead of it. Low pressure there in southeastern Canada. There's a trailing front that runs Sunday morning back to the lower lakes. That comes through with some showers and storms Sunday evening or Sunday night. And then by Monday morning, unless there's something left over, it's done. And you've got a nice little high there in southeastern Canada with northerly isobars. So I think Monday, Memorial Day, could wind up being a very nice day all the way around with sunshine and temperatures up in the mid-70s to low 80s. So it's looking, I'm reasonably optimistic in my viewpoint of the fact that, yes, there will be some showers and storms Saturday night and Sunday night, but the vast majority of the time from Friday through Monday should be okay. Of course, energy in the west means another storm heading up into the plains on Monday, so I'm sure there will be some severe weather to deal with Sunday night into Monday morning from Texas on northward through parts of Kansas and Nebraska. That low runs up into the western lakes. And here's where, for the middle part of next week, the ridge in the east is going to be in control, and there's no onshore flow threat. There's no high coming down from eastern Canada. So we could actually see some very warm to borderline hot temperatures here beginning, well, maybe not so much Tuesday, but Tuesday could certainly be in the 80s. But Wednesday of next week, could see temperatures up near 90 up in my neck of the woods. And it looks like another front comes through here on Wednesday night. There's going to be a deep upper low coming down near Hudson's Bay. You actually do see some chilly air moving up through Minnesota and parts of Montana and the western lakes by early next week. So that's the northern part of the jet stream. Here's how the upper air is going to play out. And we'll give that a view. This is on the new GFS, so we don't have it out all the way. Remember, the unrelenting jet in the west, trough after trough, the dumbbelling upper lows, one breaks off, get our front through tomorrow. Then you still have troughing in the west continuing. Another one drops down over the weekend and into the southwest, and then you start to finally get this northern part of this jet stream. There's this upper low that is sitting up in northern Canada, and it just drops southward as we move through next week. That allows a ridge to actually pop up in the west. You get a bit of a split flow, but it gets rid of the deep, overdeveloped, dynamic troughing that we have seen there for the last couple of weeks, and that weather conditions generally improve. I'm sure the folks in Colorado, I don't know if Shelly Man Studios is, I'm sorry, if, not Shelly Man Studios, he's in Connecticut. Ruthless Goat. I don't know if Ruthless Goat is on tonight, but you at least should probably welcome the fact that you should get this trough out of here in the west, that at least that should allow things to warm up to something a bit more reasonable than what you've been experiencing. And it also should at least help to take snow out of the equation in the longer range. You know, we go back to, you look at this close up, and you'll see it even better how this all plays out. There's your ridge in the east for Friday and into the weekend. And then after we get through the front on Monday, of course, the ridging in the east starts to build northeastward up the east coast toward Nova Scotia. And then you've got this deeper trough that swings out from Canada and rotates around, all while at the same time you get rid of that hideous trough out in the western part of the U.S. I'm just going to jump to the old model run just to so that we could take it out a bit further. And while we do have troughing in the east, it looks like it would be cold fronts more than and not onshore flow with coastal lows. At least I hope that's not the case. But this at least would suggest that that shot of very warm to possibly hot air for the middle part of next week will be relatively short-lived in the pattern, as you've got these tendency for a fairly deep upper low being shown on the models in the long range in eastern Canada, and a series of troughs in that northern part of the jet stream as we go out longer term. So I guess to summarize here, folks, we're going to have our eyes on tomorrow afternoon and evening to see how it all plays out. Watch, for those of you along the coast and in southern New England, keep a close eye on the wind direction and your temperatures. If you're having a tough time getting out of the 60s and or even the lower 60s, and you're dealing with a lot of cloud cover, that's probably a sign that the thunderstorms will be less potent by the time they reach that area. If you are just inland of the coast in New Jersey, same for the Jersey Shore, if you see that your wind is not south but more southwest, that'll be a sign that the thunderstorms could be a bit more, they'll hold on a bit more and a bit stronger when they reach you. If you're just inland through New Jersey and going back through Pennsylvania and in the Hudson Valley away from the southeastern portion of the Hudson Valley down near Long Island Sound, but as you work your way up northward through upstate New York, be advised that there probably will be some rocky periods to get through tomorrow, later in the afternoon and into the first part of tomorrow night. Okay, on to the chat board tonight. Nice to see everybody here. As we got David and Jason and Scott Briller and Box 505, Johnny Quest, Chuck Cardillo, Jason Schaefer, Javon Perry, Paul Roman, Erica Baker, Chris Alley. I was wondering, I hadn't seen you in the last couple of days. Good to see you on board tonight. And Joseph Mayano, Javon, Ruin Nation, and I think Derek Reeder. I think I got everybody here. If I missed you, I promise I'll get you on the next. Oh, Tom Gorsuch. See you on there. Let's see. K9 Radio, and Joe Gaffney on. My old buddy T-Bear. Nice to see you on board too. Robert Brown. LeBron fan. Hopefully Bobby Whitaker. Nice. I feel bad. Once I start naming names, I got to get everybody. Timothy Veltman, William Huber, and almost to the top. And Scott Briller is usually the first one on board. Paul Roman, Jack J. Izzy D. Can't forget him. Yes, Scott Briller is usually the first one on as soon as a notification goes on board. goes up. Okay, so I think we've kind of run this all down with respect to how this all happens. Derek, I can never seem to tell what SPC is going to do. If they're going to, I would be shocked to see a moderate risk. You don't get moderate risks up here very often. We've got the enhanced risk today, which kind of caught me a bit off guard, but it's not a complete shock. But moderate risk might be pushing it for tomorrow. I think you really have to see how this warm front behaves and how those dew points zoom up and how much sun we get with respect to daytime heating. What are the overnight models? How are they going to handle all of that? That'll determine the extent of the thunderstorm risk. I don't know if we're going to push it to moderate risk. I'm just going to I'm going to pull up the. I'll just read the SPC discussion here, and let's move up for tomorrow on the late afternoon. They really kind of talked a bit more on this discussion with regards to the southern part, because of the fact that the maximum daytime heating is going to be played out from south central Pennsylvania and then along and east of the Appalachians. So their viewpoint is that, and if you look at where the highest temperatures are going to be, that's really where it lines up. Those areas are going to see temperatures climbing up into the 80s, and in some cases, well up into the 80s to even near 90 just south of Washington, D.C. So you've got some really solid daytime heating happening up there. The amount of daytime heating that's going to occur here is a bit more questionable. Certainly, we'll see 70s to near 80 away from the coast, but unless we get the sun to break through the clouds wide open, and it happens fast enough, that daytime heating is going to get cut down by quite a bit. That warm front tomorrow morning, being minimal in terms of clouds and showers, is really kind of important with regards to how extensive the severe weather development is going to be for later tomorrow afternoon and into tomorrow night. All right, folks, got to wrap it up here. Thanks very much for being here tonight. I appreciate it greatly. Once again, if you are joining late, always, or if you are watching this or have watched this on the replay, the live stream began at 6 o'clock Eastern Time on May 22nd. So anything you see, obviously, is dated. Please be sure to go to your local National Weather Service office forecast page for the latest regarding any severe weather, and you can access that by going to weather.gov. We had some success last night with the Joe and Joe Weather Show on YouTube here at 9:20 Eastern Time, and since Facebook has yet to fix my technical issue, the show's going to stay here. So we'll be here tonight at 9:20, roughly 9:20. I set the clock for 9:20, but sometimes we get hung up and it winds up being closer to 9:25. Every once in a while we get done a little earlier and it might be more like 9:15. But figure 9:20 as a good average time for the Joe and Joe Weather Show for tonight. And more than likely it'll be there tomorrow and on Friday, because I am not anticipating being able to do Facebook Lives anytime soon with the way they do things. So we'll keep it here. I just want to mention that we are well underway in finishing an update for those of you who have my weather app, which you can download free on Google Play or on the App Store. We're going to be updating it so that no matter where you are, it will default to your location. So you don't have to go in and put it in every time. Right now it just defaults to my location, which is Islip on Long Island. But it'll automatically default both on the current conditions, the forecast page, and the Zoom radar. So that'll make things a whole lot easier. It'll be a couple of extra steps that you won't have to take. The update is going to hopefully be pushed through in the next week to 10 days. And as soon as it gets out there, you'll know, because if you've got it set for your phone to update, the app should just update automatically. If you haven't downloaded the free app, just go to the App Store. For those of you who are on iPhones, and otherwise go to Google Play for those of you who are on Android devices. And as far as tomorrow is concerned, for Patreon members, we did a Patreon live stream this morning in spite of the fact that I was having signal issues thanks to some work that they were doing in my area. So hopefully tomorrow that won't be the case. But I am planning to do a live stream tomorrow morning for Patreon members only at roughly 10 o'clock Eastern time. But I'll set the schedule up for you and pass the link along like I usually do, so we can take a look and see just exactly how this severe weather is breaking out. If you'd like to join my weather platform on Patreon, it's just $2 a month. The link to that is on the descriptor to this live stream, or if you're watching it on a replay, the descriptor to this video. Then our regular YouTube live stream tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Eastern time, followed by the Joe and Joe Weather Show at 9:20. All right, so hopefully we'll see you later. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. And please be sure to be safe tonight if you happen to be watching in an area that's getting severe weather. It's just been out of control lately, and we are, of course, going to be dealing with it tomorrow in the Northeast. Good night, everyone.